Hey everybody, this is Lynna, and you are watching Lynna's Life. My life is has me in Seattle. I'm still in Seattle. I'm sitting at Car Carkeek Park here in Seattle. I just did a delivery um, with Uber Eats, and it was interesting because I've never done a delivery with um, delivering Apple products and stuff. So that was interesting. They had a whole process where you go to the store and then they bring you out your order. It's very organized and everything. And then they have you scan the barcode. And then when the customer receives the item, they sign for it on your phone. And then you scan the barcode again and then you give it to them. And I guess Uber Eats isn't just for delivering food, they also deliver Apple items, not just apples, right? They also deliver Apple computers and iPhones. Well, you get it. So anyway, so yeah, I've been here since last Thursday. Yeah. So I'm on my last 3 days here, and it's been a good experience. I really like this area. Um, I worked a lot, not yesterday, but the day before. I actually woke up the sun that day and worked late into the night on Sunday night into Monday morning. And basically, when you do that, I guess you just get super tired. And I slept a few hours and then I was back on the road again. I didn't really do much deliveries yesterday, but like during during work, I ended up getting a call from my boyfriend and we started chatting. And well, he likes to hang out with me during the delivery process. I think he thinks it's really cool what I do. So he's there with me, basically driving around with me and getting the food with me and watching me interact with people, and stuff like that. So it's fun because I'm not alone and it's really cool. But he noticed that I looked tired. And at first I kind of denied it. I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's okay. It's okay. But I wasn't. I wasn't fine at all. I was tired. And being tired, um, after slowing down and then after delivery, just sitting there and talking to him and stuff, um, I decided that I was just not going to be able to work later, and so that's basically I kind of ended my day yesterday, like at 9 o'clock, and went to a place called Burger Master to get. He's like, "So where are we going to go to dinner tonight?" I go, "Oh, we're on a date." It's kind of funny, but he's like my virtual date, right? I mean, he's an actual person, but he's like a virtual date at this point because I only carry him in my pocket and in my heart, obviously. But we stopped at, we stopped, we were traveling together. No, we stopped at Burger Master. It's like this kind of like drive up, kind of Sonic-ish, Northwest version of Sonic, I guess. And then you have to order from a person that comes out, and they have a little smart device that actually takes your credit card information, that does the order and all that. So it was really cool. Ended up having like a mini bacon cheeseburger and fries and a little mini shake, little vanilla shake. I haven't had a vanilla shake in a while. But so yeah. And then he followed me, not followed me, but drove the 8 minutes back to my house, or back to the casa. That's what it was, like mi casa in Seattle. So then I ended up staying in my room, and we just chatted after that and just hung out for like an hour or so, and then I went to sleep. Yeah, I went to sleep, and ended up going to bed and getting a good night's rest. It felt really peaceful for whatever reason. I think it's all the beautiful words that are being spoken over me by my boyfriend that is really just healing me, allowing me to appreciate the woman that I am and not to like feel bad. Or no, I don't think it's feel bad. It's more like not to worry about the perceptions of what others might or might not say. It's one of those things, when you deal with dysphoria, you are very self-aware of all the things that you think are your masculine traits. Say, someone has, I have hands that I don't really particularly feel are very, well, they're not like super masculine, but I can't palm a basketball with them. So that's one thing. But they're not tiny, right? This is so good. Sparkling ice. It's like 0 calories, and it's like 69 cents at grocery outlet. So it's super cheap. But so I basically have those hang-ups and stuff like any trans woman would, because we transition. And it's a process, right? Transition is a process. And I haven't gotten through my whole process. And I know that others would want to make fun of that or criticize that. But those are things that are really kind of like very personal to one. And what I wanted to say in this video specifically was to say that no one gets to define you but you. I mean, unless you're certifiably like, not well and not taking any medications to help you with that imbalance, because that's all mental disease it's an imbalance, right? It's not like people are like crazy just because they want to be perceived as that, but there's some kind of a chemical reaction that's happening. I remember watching an episode of Grey's Anatomy, and Dr. Dreamy, right? What's his name? Patrick, what's his name? I forget his name. Super cute, right? And he's a neurosurgeon. And they're on the operating table, and he has his glasses on and this little microscopic, viewing devices or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Whatever doctors use, neurosurgeons use. And he has like these 2 rods and stuff, and he's got the, he's working with a person who's under anesthesia, obviously, but they've got their head, opened up so that they could do some brain surgery. And what they end up doing is they end up like moving just the tiniest little piece of like brain matter. And, I'm not a person that knows anything about medical stuff. I'm a lay person when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, but what I'm trying to say is that it's like even the tiniest little like incremental movement can be the difference between someone speaking and someone not being able to talk. Someone remembering things and not being able to like remember anything at all, or to remember just parts of their childhood and not the last thing that happened to you just a minute ago. So, depending on how that brain is functioning inside, and we all know that we're not perfect. We weren't um, created perfectly. And although it's a beautiful thing, humans, um, we come with lots of issues. I mean, for one, they force our little craniums through a tiny little vaginal hole, right? I mean, the cervix opens up and then pop comes out baby, but baby's head's like squeezed. I can't imagine that being like healthy for any child to have their head squeezed, of course, and for the mama to have to birth something so big in such a small little diameter space. I mean, it's like, so I'm just wondering if the creator could have done a little bit of work on that part of it, and given a better way of like birthing children, that wouldn't involve the child getting crushed or the mom feeling excruciating pain that is on the level of nothing ever experienced before in the history of humankind, right? But that's a video for another day and another time. But what I'm saying is that small little incremental differences within our brain um, can really mess us up, and the whole concept of being, they classified gender identity disorder, they called it, before they called it gender dysphoria. And the disorder was a mental condition, right, that was acknowledged by the powers that be in the medical and pharmaceutical communities. And, it was relegated that gender identity disorder does exist, that it is a thing, later redefined by the DSM-5 as gender dysphoria. And, to the contrary of what some people would want to say about the agenda or whatever that there is to trans everybody. I don't know how that can possibly be when only 3% of us in this country, in the United States anyway, have any degree of gender dysphoria and have actually transitioned. 3%. So 3%, and the amount of cancer patients in the United States, when cancer is the leading cause of death in this country, followed by heart disease, diabetes, or something like that. So these are the things that are happening that are hurting people, right? The lack of a cure for cancer, the lack of a cure for diabetes, the lack of a cure for MS, the lack of a cure, right? All these things. Had we not, had the intervention to get, certain things taken care of with regards to this current pandemic that we're dealing with, a lot more people would have died, right? Just like the Spanish flu of 1918. Yeah, it's interesting to me because we know that mental illness exists, right? We know that. It's understood. And yet there's this rush to denial and this rush to say that people are wanting to make lots and lots of money off of trans kids or trans women or trans men, or and it's just the numbers just don't hold out to be true. When you do the math and you put the equation up on the board and you look at it for what it is, and you see the amount of trans lives that actually exist and the impact that they have on society, and you put it up in contrast with what's being said as being some kind of an agenda. I mean, and even if you put like LGBT in there, right? You put that in a category of its own. All the LGBT, QIA, right? So it just doesn't make sense, so the words that are used to do that are damaging, and they are intended to cause pain, mental anguish, because the truth about the matter is that, again, no one, and I mean no one, not your mother, not your father, not your husband, not your wife, not your partner, not your sister, not your brother, not your cousins, not your grandmother, not your grandfather, not your workmates, not your colleagues, not your, enemies. No one is uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, cousins, great grandfathers, great grandmothers. Nobody, even your family dog or cat, is allowed to define you to you, because only you know who you really are. And it's no one else's business, right? No one else's business. There is not a movement to destroy the world with the trans phenomenon. And it's not a phenomenon, actually. People that have dealt with gender dysphoria have been around for thousands of years. And no, we cannot misconstrue misappropriate the meaning with simply saying that someone's two-spirited and stuff. Because, two-spirited is one thing. And it has a very specific and intended definition. And it is not to be just thrown in there with everything else. I know I used to say I was two-spirited because, whatever reason, even in my wedding vows to that person that I married 6 years ago, hoping to get divorced pretty soon here, thankfully, fingers crossed. Just trying to get things figured out there, but the process is going, and it's ongoing. But yeah, it was there was a two-spirited vow that was made, and it's just so confusing, because you know who you are. If you're a trans man, you're a man. If you're a trans woman, you are a woman. No one gets to define you. No one gets to limit your ability to recognize who you are. Just saying that just brings up all kinds of thoughts of how ridiculous and ludicrous of a concept is it for someone to say that you don't exist. But see, the thing is, this has happened throughout history. It's nothing new. When you are an African person brought to this country and enslaved and made to serve your white masters, and you're told that you are not the value of a person, but that you're 3/5 of a person, not half of a person, not a third, you're 3/5. How do you what did they use? What formula do they use to divide people into fifths? I don't even know. But thus the definition of a person from Africa who came here unwillingly is given. And you don't have to agree with it. I'm sure all those people that were slaves back in the 1800s didn't agree with their definition didn't agree that they were defined by their masters, that they were named by their masters. They were like, they had an African name, and they're like, oh no, your name isn't Kunta Kinte anymore. It's Tom, because I just want to call you Tom. And that's the same kind of thing that happens when people tell us that we don't exist, right? Or what other example is there? There's like the native example. Recently, I've been talking about the tragedy that this nation has blood on its hands with regards to native populations and their dehumanization and the desire to exterminate them, literally. Not a concept that comes from Germany, contrary to popular notion, but something that is a very American trait. The governor of California, said that, the natives should be basically made to not exist, go the way of the buffalo, to be rounded up and to be contained, and eventually to be destroyed. All because people want to define, they wanted to define what a native was. They wanted to tell people that they're savages, that they are without the ability to, be responsible, to have borders and to have a system of government. And so they weren't even like considered 3/5 of a person. They were considered to be subhuman, like they weren't even real, like they didn't even exist. Not unlike what happens when people say on YouTube that trans people aren't real, that we don't exist. And maybe you experience that kind of discrimination from your loved ones. I was recently talking to my friend this morning, and she told me that her mom is just really disappointed in her, and that her dad is disgusted by her and her brothers. She has no sisters, but others have chosen to define who you are intended to be. And if you go against their intentions, then you're all of a sudden subhuman. You're all of a sudden not relegated to being a person. You're all of a sudden rendered without value, without, some people would say, without the ability to be productive on this planet. That you have no purpose, that you lack, now that you've transitioned, that you somehow lack the ability to perform in life, the obligations. And a lot of times those things are relegated to reproduction, but we all know that, and unless you really have a very skewed definition of what humans are here for, what our purpose is, it's not to reproduce, honestly. It really isn't. I don't know what, I know the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply, but the Bible also says, destroy your neighbor, destroy those evildoers in Canaan, and don't let anything live. Don't let a baby live. Don't let a little calf live. Don't let, a nursing mother live. That's the same God that said, be fruitful and multiply. So to me, I just kind of go, okay, well, that's the same God then you're talking about? So you want to obey that God? And you think that the words of that God are significant enough for you to restructure your value system and to line it up with the value system that you think that you're supposed to live by, I just find a real disconnection, from that. And I wanted to do another video. Like, I have a couple ideas for a couple of videos that I want to do, but this one I want to just focus on who defines who you are, and just letting you guys know that you yourselves only are the ones who know that. No one else. No one else can tell you, no, this is who you are, and because you're this way, you can't be, you can't be truthful. You're a liar. You're a deceiver. You're a bad person. And what really kind of like surprises me about it all, and kind of like makes me think, gee, in other areas of my life, like, and I'm talking about me specifically because I can't talk about other people. I don't know other people's lives. But in my lived experience, I would say that I was a pretty responsible person. I was married. I had a family. I had a job. I was the only one who worked. I was the only one who brought income. I took care of my family. I even made sure that there was always enough food on the table, and that no one went lacking. And actually, I felt like I was very generous, very kind. And I made mistakes. I mean, obviously, I could have done better in a lot of areas in my life. And but that's not a reason to regret anything. It's just a reason to acknowledge your mistakes and to learn from your mistakes and to grow. But I just can't, people looked up to me. They thought I was a kind person, easygoing, easy to get along with, easy to talk to individual, that I was spiritual. So they would seek me out to pray with me, to have me pray for them. I was the first person that would be contacted, if there was like some, significant traumatic event in the family where, like I remember my cousin, she lost her little one after 5 days struggling in a hospital, and she wanted me to sing in that child's funeral, and I did. My grandmother's funeral in 2002. I translated the words of the song I Can Only Imagine and sang it. So what I'm saying is that I was a good individual. And all of a sudden, just because I transitioned, just because I dealt with gender dysphoria, I was relegated as a liar, as a person who's always fooled people, always been deceptive, always been like wanting to manipulate, wanting to destroy, wanting to have my own way. Super selfish, of course. Super self-consumed. But those are everyone else's definitions of you, of me. And that's not at all who I know that I am. Not even close. So in closing, I just wanted to encourage you guys to rest in understanding that you know who you are, and that no matter what anyone else says about you, that only you can define you. That's the most important thing, is to be able to know who you are. Because when you know who you are, then you can help others with who they are. Encourage them with who they are. See them, validate them, give them value, honor them, and most importantly, unconditionally love them. All right, well, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another Lynna's Life later. Bye.